The program is still this morning on ITV. 15th January every year is set aside to remember those that lost their life in the course of fighting for Nigeria. We are talking about the Nigerian military, popularly called the Nigerian fallen hero, where a special, very special ritual is performed, especially by the president, where wreaths will be laid and birds will be allowed to fly. Where we look at this through the eyes of the executive director, founder, Nigeria Fallen Heroes Foundation, Amanda Mustafa. Very good morning to you.
Good morning to you too.
The project or program of laying of wreaths to, in remembrance of those who have lost their life in the course of fight to protect the nation's territorial, whatever. Tell us about it.
Well, as we all know, we have an armed forces in our country, which young men, young gallant men and women fight for our nation's integrity and fight for our territory every day of their lives. And in the process, some of them make the ultimate sacrifice of giving up their life for Nigeria. So as a country, we have set aside a day which is the 15th of January of every year, and it's the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. And on that day is the day set out for the nation to actually remember those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice for Nigeria, and also to show an appreciation and gratitude to those still serving, and it's a way to just show them that Nigerians care, Nigerians honor their sacrifice, Nigerians respect it, and Nigerians remember. I think the most important thing is the fact that we remember it, and we show it to the families they have left behind, to the colleagues they have left behind, and to basically, I think it's basically a way also for the nation to come together. I always tell people this: the Nigerian Armed Forces uniform is Nigeria's uniform, literally, because if you come in terms of culture and religion, our attires tend to differ. But the uniform the Armed Forces wears, that's Nigeria's uniform. So I also think it's a time for the nation to come together under one umbrella and to be one at itself, while they remember those that have given up their lives for Nigeria and those still serving, in a way to show gratitude. Now, the laying of the wreath is something that they do, and it's just a way for, the Commander-in-Chief does it at the national level, and at the state level, the governors do it. One, they are the chief security officers of their states, and the Commander-in-Chief is the #1 for the armed forces. So they go and then they lay this wreath. Most times widows are selected to also do that. I think it's just a time to commiserate and a time for people of the nation to come together and to actually remember. And I think the benefit of us remembering is so we don't make those same mistakes that cost our gallant men and women to actually always have to give up their lives. I think whether we like it or not, some things we have done as civilians, as citizens of this nation, has caused those people to have to go to war, to actually have to go and defend something, and in the course of it have lost their lives. So I think it's also a time for us to remember that we shouldn't put them in that situation that they would have to go to the extent of losing their lives in order to defend us.
Well, it appears it's in threefold: those that have died, those that have retired, and those that are still in service.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the ones that have died. How do you remember them when that day is not even a public holiday?
Well, I do agree with you, even though the day isn't a public holiday, but it doesn't still stop you from remembering people. It doesn't have to be a public holiday for you to. I'm sure we would like it to be a public holiday, but then now that it's not a public holiday, there's still so much that can be done. I know we share emblems. I'm not wearing one right now because every time I buy, people always collect it from me. I always buy a lot. Every day, I'm pretty sure when I leave the studio, I'm going to buy again, and people keep collecting it. But it's just a way to remember. And I always try to encourage people, don't only wear it because it's Armed Forces Remembrance Day round the corner. Try to wear it as often as possible throughout the year. But because I know on the emblem, every year is stated on it. So for this year, it's 2017. So you can actually wear it for the whole of 2017. You don't have to wear it just on that day. And then just imagine how appreciative someone would feel if they saw you wearing the emblem in August. And the time has passed, but then that means you're remembering. That means you're honoring the sacrifice his colleague or her colleague has made. So it might not be a public holiday, but it doesn't still stop us from remembering the sacrifices that they have made.
But even that cannot stop us from remembering the sacrifices they have made. The question is, how do you still remember them when you leave their widows and children wallow in poverty?
Well, I won't really say you leave their children wallow in poverty. Like, for example, I know for the armed forces, to a certain extent, I know if a man is lost in line of service or not, I know they take over like children's scholarship. They still go to command schools based on scholarship.
That's for the senior officers.
It's not for the senior officers.
The other ranks. Or
other rank. I'm going to give you a very simple example.
They are even chased out of the barracks.
No, you see, I think there's also a lot.
We have seen that.
I think there's also a lot of misconception on the terms of the armed forces, and to a certain extent, you can't really blame the general public for that misconception because the armed forces, it's a very close-knit organization, and you can't really blame them. They have just always been like that. And in all fairness, the few times that they have opened their doors to interact with people, there's always a misconception or a misquote about what they have done. I'm going to give you a typical example. We have been to the 23 Brigade in Adamawa State, and we have met with widows that have lost their husbands in the fight against Boko Haram, and they still live in the barracks. Nobody has chased them. Their children still go to school. Nobody has chased them out of those barracks. This I am very sure because I have
maybe
met.
That's an exception.
Because I have met these people. We did a program with them in 2015 December, where we did Christmas with the Fallen Heroes families, and we went to the brigade, and they were there. It's not a facade or that they've been chased or anything. They were actually there. The women were there.
For how long now?
They are still there.
For how long?
For how long
yes.
have they been there?
Yes.
Well, some of them, their husbands have died way back as 2013. Some 2012.
Say 3 years.
Some of them 2012, some of them 2011. So it depends on when you have lost your husband. Some people, again, on their own willingly pack up and leave because maybe the only reason why they're even in that part of the country in the first place is because their husband works there. But now their husband is gone. Some of them just pack their bags and go back to their home where they have family, where they have friends. That isn't them being chased out of the barracks. That's just them taking upon themselves to leave. So I think there's a lot of misconception and people just don't understand. And I do understand that for a very long time, the civil-military relations haven't really been on the best positive side. People have always, I remember when we started the foundation, people would be like, oh, why are we honoring them when they stop us at checkpoints and tell us to frog jump and tell us to do this and do that? And what I always replied and told them was, you're going, as you're finished whatever is going on at that checkpoint, you're going home to sleep. That man is going to stand, come rain, come sunshine, protecting you. And we as civilians on the other side, citizens of Nigeria, we are a very stubborn set of human beings, and we are not courteous and we are not respectful. So you see, when you have that clash, it tends, so imagine someone that has been standing under the sun, be it rain, day in, day out, trying to protect you, and he comes and he gives you a simple instruction like, come down, I want to check your car, and then you're gradually, and then you're, you know, you just feel like, why should I? Do you know who I am? You know, the typical Nigerian mentality. And that's not, so there's been a lot of friction. But whether we like it or not, we as citizens haven't done enough to show them that we respect what they do, we honor what they do, and we do remember the sacrifices that they make for Nigeria. Whether we like it or not, whether we've had a good experience or a bad experience with the armed forces, the one thing you can't take away is that day in, day out, they fight for the dignity and the integrity of this nation. That you can't argue it.
No doubt about that. But you see, when some of them, I mean, the widows, when their husband die, why is it difficult for them to get their benefit? Why is it difficult for them? Why make the process so rigorous for them to get their husbands, you know, benefit? At times they spend 2, 3, up to 10 years, you know, struggling to get what is duly theirs. Why? And each year, 15th of January, wreath is laid and pigeons are allowed to fly.
I mean, yes, there are a lot of complications. We don't have a perfect system. I am not in the military pension board, so I cannot.
But the foundation can take that up.
Cannot categorically answer. But this is what I always tell people about when it comes to the foundation. Even if you're paying everybody their pension, it's still not enough for them to go through in Nigeria. Whether you like it or not, the Nigerian economy isn't really as
that is if they are getting. That is so if when the man died in war front, somebody comes with a piece of note or a letter to give to the wife, or the person comes, with those in the barracks, maybe a committee to come and pass the message, the information that, your husband and all of that. You deliver the information or you deliver the message. The person is aware that the husband is no more. And why is it now difficult for you to put your house in order and say, okay, again, we are back. This is what it's doing.
Like I explained to you, I don't work for the military pension board, so I cannot categorically.
Something the organization, the foundation should do.
Well, yes, I do agree with you. But then everybody has a calling on everybody has a set objective of what they want to do.
That's not part of your.
No, it's something we have always considered. But you see, for something like that to really work, even for us to be able to help them, you also need to understand the processes on the other side. You can't just wake up one morning and accuse Old Military Pension Board, you're not giving pensions, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. First of all, is there enough money to give pension round across board?
There is.
How are you so sure about that?
I mean, when it comes to military,
do you have concrete facts
when it comes to military?
Well, no, I have a question. But you see, this is the thing. People always just say, I expect that it's because of the military that. Do you have concrete fact that, okay, if we're going to pay everybody pension this year, it's going to cost us 10 billion. And they actually have that 10 billion in their account to cut across everyone.
When it comes to the issue of pension, I shouldn't be answering questions here, but just something we know. And even aside that,
when people say it's something we know, based on what facts? That's why I say I can't speak on that because I don't have the facts. So I am not going to speculate on behalf of another organization. That's what I'm saying. So when people say we know, okay, we know based on what? Facts. And I always tell people, when you're saying someone hasn't done their job or somebody hasn't done something, you should have concrete evidence saying this person hasn't done their job.
So if it is not there, where are these guys always stealing the money from?
Who is stealing the money?
The guy is stealing from, pensions fund.
I don't know of anybody that has stolen
if it's
from.
Not there,
I don't know anybody that has stolen from the military pension board. I do not know, and I do not know of anyone that has been arrested or arraigned based on that. So I can't say. That's what I'm saying. So when people cry wolf, it has to be based on something. That's the honest truth. It has to be based on something. Like I said, it's a process in a totally different organization. You understand? Yes, we have gotten approached by, we need, we are on this pension issue. And we said, do you know what? We are going to look at it. And like I said, the armed forces, it's for a very long time it's not really been trusting of other people. And in all honesty, you're not going to blame them. I always give this example. The one time they tinily opened their gates, Amnesty International wrote a very, very, very nasty report about them. That isn't encouraging for someone to want to do that again. So you need to tread carefully. You need to let them trust you, and trust is earned. If you're just walking through a door accusing, you haven't paid this, you haven't done this, I have this widow there calling for this, or I have that widow there saying that, you have already put them on the defensive.
Okay, now, what will you say on the welfare packages for those still serving?
The welfare packages of those still serving? In what sense?
Well, their take home, even after service, some of them, you see them roaming around the street without a home. That's someone who has put his life on the line for us, and after his 35 years of service, there's nothing to show.
I do agree with you that there are a lot of things that can be done. And like I said, this is where foundations like ours come in. And I will say this again, the government can't do everything. And that's the example I was giving, that even if you paid everybody their pension complete, there's only so much it can do in today's Nigeria. That's the honest truth, and that's where people like us come in. We augment. We're not here to do the government's job for them, but we augment it. We add on to what you have been able to do. So like the Nigerian Fallen Heroes Foundation has about 5 programs is running at the moment. First of all, we have a database online on our website where you can actually go and see those that have died for Nigeria, those that have given up their life for Nigeria. That is it takes care of the psychology of the people they have left behind, and also us as a nation, because sometimes you just tend to hear 3 officers, 15 soldiers are dead. It's a number, but when you actually see a face to that number, it's a whole total different ball game for you. You actually see that it's a human being that has died. It's actually someone else that has taken up arms and has gone to defend Nigeria. We have that. We have socioeconomic programs that we're trying to set up for their widows. So as much as you give them pension and all that, they still have to be able to be self-sustaining. The whole aim of the socio-economic program is for them to be self-sustaining. That at a point in time, if pension comes, fine. If pension doesn't come, fine. I'm able to stand on my own. And I'm going to tell you, when we did the program in the 23 Brigade in Adama, a lady fellow widow actually stood up and told her fellow widows that it's high time they stand up and do things for themselves. You see, that's an orientation change. She felt, you know what, we can't just keep waiting for people to come and give us, to be handing out things to us. We actually need to stand up and do things for ourselves. And that's why we're designing our socio-economic program to be self-sustaining. When we come to teach you a skill, it's not just, oh, we've taught you a skill, here is the material started. But we teach you basic accounting skills. We teach you bookkeeping. We teach you entrepreneurship skills. Basically, what if you're a tailor, what differentiates you from the tailor next door? And we'll put it in Nigerian terms, it's all packaging that differentiates you. So you teach them those little things, form them into cooperatives. They are accountable to one another for the money that they earn. That is sustaining. Instead of just, oh, here we came, we've taught you soap making, here are the improvements, and you're gone. You can't really sustain that. Another program we have is Adopt a Child or a Family, where we try to connect members of the general public and members of the Fallen Heroes. And they come together and they do things. Depending on if you want to adopt just a child, you take the child to the school. If you want to adopt a family, to be giving them like a monthly stipend or anything to just help them. It might not be money, it might send them food stuff or anything. But that way it's showing them. And sometimes in some family, since the male figure is gone, children need advice. They need a male figure. So it might just be someone that offers advice to your children, that actually just teaches them morals, teaches them what's right from wrong. We also have our yearly event, which is called Light a Candle for a Fallen Hero. Now, on the 15th of January, like you said, the Commander-in-Chief, he goes, he lays emblems, some widows, but the general public doesn't really get to be part of that activity. There's always so much protocol, so much security, there's just so much going on. And the everyday man, like me and you, that they have fought for, don't get to be part of that activity. So what we decided was, after everything is done, in the evening, we do a very simple event where the everyday Nigerian gets to be part of. And it's basically an hour event where you come, you recite poems in their honor, people from the public actually come, pay tributes, pay respect. Then we say Christian and Islamic prayers, and we release white balloons as just a way of saying, may their souls rest in peace. Now the everyday man gets to be part of that. And you actually see Nigerians come out. The everyday person that your colleague or your husband or your brother or your wife fought for, and they get to be part of that event. Okay, now,
how can the everyday man, like you put it, contribute to, helping the widows and
as of
children?
Now, we collect donations from people, and we do that and we put them into one of these activities that I have just, one of these programs that I have just set out. Another way it's being done is the selling of emblems. That money goes to the Legion. The Legion is actually a body set up to take care of these people. It's for retired and deceased personnel, their families, and those that have retired, they and their families are all captured under the Legion. So the Legion is actually an organization set up, is an act, the Legion Act has already been set, and they set up the Legion, and they actually, the money you get from the emblem actually goes to that organization. So you see, you have the pension,
so which means that everyone should try and buy the
yes,
emblem.
everyone should try and buy the emblem. I would encourage everyone to buy the emblem. I have, like I said, I buy emblem like almost every day, because every time I buy it, I'm like, oh, I want. And then I give it out because I actually want people to wear it. Because imagine if you walked into a city as a serving officer or a rank and file man and you saw everybody wearing the emblem. It boosts morale. It just shows that, okay, do you know what? The people I'm fighting for actually know that I'm fighting for them, actually respect the fact and honor the fact that I am fighting for them. So there are different ways people can contribute into it. Like I said, there's our foundation, there's the Legion, you can go to Ministry of Defense and ask, okay, how can I go about it? So there are many ways people can. They have barracks in almost every state. They have units. The Air Force has bases. Maybe the Navy isn't really so much on land, but then there are a lot of places and within your own state, so it's not like you have to come all the way to Abuja. Even at your state level, I'm pretty sure you could find. The Legion has a state chapter in every state. So you could actually walk into a Legion office and ask, how can I help you? Or you can, like I said, you can also contact us. You can contact the Ministry of Defense.
Okay, before we run up the discussion segment, what do we expect from the 2017 Nigerian Fallen Heroes?
Our foundation?
No,
or
this celebration.
In general. In celebration, I think you're going to have the same thing you have on the 15th of January, the president and all the state governors.
Always the same thing?
Well,
we're expecting to see changes in packages, changes in welfare, changes in promises.
Well, the problem is I cannot tell you that it's going to be categorically a change. The authority to make those changes are not in my hands. So I definitely...
Well, maybe because you are close to them.
Close to who?
Well, the gates of Ministry of Defense is widely open for you.
So...
maybe you know if some changes are going to be made.
Not to the best of my knowledge.
That is kept away from you.
Not to the best of my knowledge. That I do not know. But like I said, the authority to do that is not within us. It's totally strictly civilian body. So the affairs of the armed forces is dealt with the institution. But I don't think they are deaf in hearing the cries and the concerns of people. They're human beings just like you and I. They have risen through the ranks, just like their junior officers that they have today, or their rank and file. So I believe that they are not deaf to the concerns of their people. I'm pretty sure they are listening, and to the best of their ability, I'm pretty sure they will do what they can and based on what resources they have and what the law permits them to do.
Most thank you for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, viewers, this is where we wrap up the discussion. It has been with Amanda Mustapha. She's the Executive Secretary and Founder, Nigerian Fallen Heroes Foundation, looking at expectation in the next celebration for Nigerian Fallen Heroes. Once again, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break. When we return, the program continues. Stay with us.